This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good evening, everyone, and Shavua Tov. Welcome back to the weekly Wednesday night Shiur presented by Chazak in conjunction with Chickens for Shabbos and Torah Anytime. This is every Wednesday night. We have this unbelievable series where we have a different speaker speaking every week, inspiring us and really galvanizing us on so many important topics. Every Wednesday night you should tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TorahAnytime.com/Chazak Live. Again, TorahAnytime.com/Chazak Live. Tonight we're going to be greatly honored to hear once again from Rabbi Glatstein on the topic of prepare to access the power of Purim. This is part 2. It's really unbelievable class, which we're all going to be honored to hear from very shortly, momentarily. And the Chazak organization really needs no introduction. They help Jewish public school students transfer to yeshiva. In the last 3.5 years alone, Chazak has helped transfer over 950 children from public school yeshiva, which is an unbelievable accomplishment. There's so much right now. It knows a child who has a parent who has children in public school like to transfer yeshiva. Reach out to Chazak right now. 718-285-9132. 718-285-9132. And Chazak not only was organizing this amazing event, but organizes amazing student events every single night for men, for women, for children, for all ages, all backgrounds, and it really inspires so many people throughout the entire year. And if anyone has a yard site coming up, wants to dedicate a shiur for Shalema, for Zuchus, for a Shidduch, in honor of a special occasion, reach out to Chazak at events@chazak.org, events@chazak.org, events@chazak.org. And everyone's encouraged Rabbi Glatstein to be speaking about tonight about this amazing sefer, Magid Harakia on Megillas Esther and Purim. And everyone can purchase the sefer at rabbidg.com. That is spelled RABBIDG.com, rabbidg.com. Chickens for Shabbos is an unbelievable organization. They help feed the families of agunos, grushos, and malandim with zero overhead, which is unbelievable. And they do that, and they also private tutor 222 children of agunos and grushos. It's definitely worth everyone's support. Support right now. Chickens for Shabbos at chickensforshabbos.com. 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 Thank you, Torah Anytime, for streaming tonight's amazing event and for all the great work that Chicken Torah Anytime does for Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. It's a great honor to call upon Rabbi Glatstein.
Baruchim Aboim. Welcome everyone to a very special event in honor of the Sefer Magid Harakia on Purim. This event is hosted by the wonderful organization Chazak, which accomplishes so much for Klal Yisrael in so many different areas, in so many different venues, but most importantly in registering public school children in yeshiva, and they are certainly worthy of our greatest support and admiration. I want to thank Rav Ilan Meirav of Chazak, and of course the great Rav Yaniv Meirav, who they lead this organization with tremendous dedication. And of course I want to thank my friend Rabbi Aboff for helping arrange tonight's event. Tonight's special shiur is sponsored by my Yedid Neman, by my Taira friend Rabbi Newman of Chickens for Shabbos. And Rabbi Newman is selfless in his efforts and his hashtadlus to try to promote as much awareness as possible for this incredible organization, Chickens for Shabbos, that are dedicated to the fundamental and most basic tzedakah, and that is feeding Yidden, and most importantly, feeding Yidden who need it most, agunos, grushos, and they specialize in feeding malamdim, taking care of the families of the teachers of Torah. Because, as Rabbi Newman tells me all the time, almost everything else in this world is replaceable, except for the malamdim of Torah. Without the malamdim of Torah, we have no Klal Yisrael. And therefore, we owe it to them, we owe it to the future of the Jewish people to do whatever we can to support our Malamdim. You could go to the Yad Eliezer website and there's an icon for Almanos, Grushos, Malamdim. Do whatever you can, especially this is the Yom Tif of Matanos Le'Avyonim, of support of Torah. It's now Parshas Truma. The Badei Ha'aron can never be removed. One always has to focus on what could he do to support Torah constantly, consistently. This is the time of the year. And with no further ado, let us begin this lecture and presentation, L'Kavod, this Sefer, this humble Sefer, Magid HaRakia, which, as we spoke about last week, was the B'chayri, my first offering, my first Sefer, and Baruch Hashem, it has been received very favorably. And I want to speak today, and by the way, to get a hold of this Sefer, you could go to our website, rabbidg.com. It's behind me. You have the name of the website, and it's available there. Free shipping anywhere in the United States. If you don't live in the United States, if you live elsewhere, give me a call, and we'll get you the Sefer. It's also available at Sfarim Center and at almost every Sfarim store around. Let's speak about the following statement of Chazal, the statement that appears in Masechta Tainis on Daf Chav Tesam and Aleph, going on to Chav Tesam and Beis, and you're going to hear me say that, and you say, "Oh, I know what the Shiur is on." No, you don't know what the Shiur is on. You know the first part. Amar Rabbi Huda, Braid Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas Mishmei Derav. That part we've spoken about many times. But now let's focus on the next part of the statement. Kishem shemishanichnas Av mimatin b'simcha. Just like when the month of Av comes in, we diminish our joy. Kach, so too, mishanichnas Adar. When the month of Adar comes in, marbin b'simcha. We increase our joy. The same way when Av comes in, we diminish our joy. When Adar comes in, we increase, we magnify our joy. And the question is that if you want to say be happy in Adar, so say be happy in Adar. What's it got to do with Av? What's the kishem? Kishem implies there's a correlation, there's a connection, that there's a ratio, there's a corresponding element. That just like we diminish our joy in Av, corresponding to that, we increase our joy and happiness. What does the diminution of joy in Av got to do with the increasing of joy in Adar? What do the two have to do with each other? Asks the Gra in his commentary to Megillas Esther, Parak Tes, Pasuk Chav Gimel. And similarly, this question is raised by the Masir Rakeach al HaTorah at the end of Devarim, and in the Ksav Sofer in his commentary to Megillas Esther, page Kuf Nun Tes. And this Maimer that we're sharing now is Maimer Beis of the Sefer, Magid HaRakia. Now, there's another instance where we find that the increasement of joy on Purim corresponds to the negation of joy because of the Churban Beis Hamikdash. The Mechaber writes in Arachaim Siman Tav Kuf Samach Sif Beis. These are the halachos of making a zecher to the Churban. And the Mechaber says there's a takana that when one sets their table for guests, so they diminish a little bit and they leave an open place without a plate. And all of this is in order to remember Yerushalayim. As it says, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini. So there's a concept we're supposed to make a zecher l'churban. And how do we make a zecher l'churban? We diminish one dish at every meal and we leave an open setting. Says the Taz, but what if it's a Sudas mitzvah? Do you still, like a Mila or a Chasana, do we still have to make a Zecher L'Chorban? Says the Taz, of course, Im Lai Ales Yerushalayim, Im Lai Ahale, Al Rosh Simchas Tiyad, at the head of every joyous occasion, we always have to remember Yerushalayim. However, comes Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the Yavitz, in the Maruk Tzia, Simin, Tafresh Sadi Hey, and he says there's an exception to the rule. There is a Suda that one does not have to make a Zecher L'Chorban, and that is Sudas Purim. Says Rabbi Yaakov Emden, why does one not have to make a Zecher to the Chorban by Sudas Purim? Because since there's a mitzvah to drink Adalo Yada, Bein Ar Haman LeBaruch Mordechai, So we have to go all out. One has to experience the greatest possible simcha, and therefore don't make any zecher l'chorban. And this is brought lahalach in the Shari Tshuva, but it still requires analysis. If we're supposed to remember Yerushalayim and Chorban Beis Hamikdash at all times, just because there's an obligation to drink that you don't know the difference between Ar Haman and Baruch Mordechai, why does that then obviate the need to make a zecher l'chorban? Well, I want to share with you the amazing comments of the Yosef Lekach. Yosef Lekach was written by the Baal Masei Hashem, Rabbi Elazar Ashkenazi, and I had the zechus to be at his kever in Krakow a few years ago. And I want to thank a individual who I met in Passaic, New Jersey, who shared this Yosef Lekach with me, although unfortunately I don't know his name. But I appreciate him showing me this Maramakoim, and that is the Yosef Lekach says on Esther, Parak Tes Pasuk Yud Gimel, that what is this obligation? Chayev inish lebasume bepuraya adolayada ben Ar Haman lebaruch Mordechai. What is the significance of this? What is the meaning of this? Well, says the Baal Yosef Lekach, the Purim story happened in the aftermath of the first Beis Hamikdash, before the building of the second Beis Hamikdash. So while yes, we were joyous and we were overjoyed that God saved our lives and He spared us from the wicked decree of Haman and He saved us from annihilation, but still our temple lay in ruins. We're still, Yerushalayim is bechorbana, the walls were destroyed, the temple is in a state of chorban. And as grateful as we are to the Almighty for saving our lives, but how can we rejoice when our temple lay in ruin? And especially says the Yosef Lekach, Bisman Mordechai, it was Samach L'chorban, and Legolos Malchei Yehuda. It was impossible for them to rejoice unless they drink until they forget about Yerushalayim. So they gave a mitzvah. Drink until you don't know. But you know what the real kavanah of you don't know is? Until you don't really remember and focus and know about Chorban Beis Hamikdash. But how would that look if they formulated an enactment? Everyone drink until you forget about the Beis Hamikdash. That would be degrading. So they covered it up. Purim is the great cover-up. They formulate until you don't know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, but it's not a matter of Baruch Mordechai and Ar Haman. That's not the Nakuda, that's not the point. The point is drink so that you could forget a little bit about your sorrow, about the mournful state of the Beis Hamikdash, and you could rejoice in the great salvation of Purim. But heaven forbid to ever articulate that. So it's formulated ad lo yada ben Ar Haman lebaruch Mordechai. Now we could suggest, now we understand the comments of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, why the one exception to the rule of a meal, you don't have to make a zeicha l'chorban, is the Purim Suda. The whole purpose of rejoicing on Purim is to be able to appreciate the miracle of God for saving us without being bogged down about the fact that the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed. That's why they enacted the Suda. That's why there's a mitzvah of drinking at the Suda. So how would it look if at the Suda, which is, the whole objective is to rejoice without having to be oisgetracht and be thinking and mournful about the Beis Hamikdash, how would it look if there was a requirement to make a Zeichel HaMikdash? And therefore, the one meal we don't make a Zeichel HaMikdash is the Purim Suda, because doing so is antithetical to the whole objective of the Suda, which is Adilo Yada, that you don't know anymore about the Beis HaMikdash. Vashem Heir Einai, that this could be an element of the Oimek Kavanasai, of Kishem, just like Shemisha Nichnas Av, when the month of Av comes, Mimatin b'simcha, we diminish our joy because we're so mournful over the destruction of the temple. We are misabel. we are in great sorrow over the state of devastation, so too the month of Adar, we're marbe b'simcha, because this is a month that we're allowed to forget a little bit about the Churban Beis Hamikdash and rejoice in the salvation, because the mitzvahs hayoim of Purim and the salvation of Purim cannot be enjoyed with focus on Churban. So while in the month of Av we're mamait by focusing on the Churban, in the month of Adar we're marbe by forgetting and being meisiach das and diverting our attention from the Churban. Hence Chazal formulate kishem shemisha nichnas Av mematin b'simcha kach misha nichnas Adar marbim b'simcha. And I was asked to give a little commercial. One of the ways that we show joy on Purim, of course, is matanas le'avyonim, by feeding the poor. What better way than to support chickens for Shabbos, who they're supporting the most needy elements of Klal Yisrael and the most important elements of Klal Yisrael. Go to the Yad Eliezer website. Let us continue now in another dimension of that which Chazal say, Kishem shemisha nichnas av mematin b'simcha kach misha nichnas adar marbim b'simcha. I want to share with you an interesting medrash. Medrash Bereishis Rabbah, Reb Berechia b'shem Reb Chelbai Amar, Mainitin shaloi ba'olam. There are 4 people who gained renown, who minted coins. Mordechai minted coins. Ki gadol Mordechai bebeis hamelech v'shamai halech b'cham dinais. That on, now the Medrash asks, what exactly was on Mordechai's coin? And on one side of the coin says the Medrash, Sakvo Efer Yutzal Arabim, and on the other side, Va'atar Sahav Gedoyla. So on the one side was the state of mourning of the Jewish people, and on the other side was the joyous garment and image of Mordechai being paraded through the streets. And that's an interesting thing. Mordechai minted coins. I thought he's the Gadol Hadar. I don't know any other Gedolei Hadar that mint coins. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, I think he has better things to do with his time than to mint coins. Reb Gershon Edelstein, I don't think he's minting coins. Reb Yitzchak Yosef, as far as I know, he doesn't mint coins in his leisure time. I don't know, none of the other Gedolim I know of. I know a lot of Talmidei Chachamim. The Shvilei Pinchas, he ain't minting coins. Look, the great rabbis, they don't mint coins. They certainly have better things to do with their time than to mint coins. What's the pshat in this medrash? The Rambam tells us, based on the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that 3 mitzvos Klal Yisrael are commanded to fulfill upon entry into Eretz Yisrael. Number 1, appoint a king. Number 2, destroy Amalek. Number 3, build the Beis Habachira, build the temple. Now these 3 mitzvos are contingent upon each other. We need a king to destroy Amalek, to build the temple. Says the Nachlas David that Mordechai's ascent as a king was not for his personal prestige and honor. Mordechai understood, in order to be Mekayim, the second mitzvah mentioned in the Rambam, to destroy Amalek, which Mordechai certainly did. He had Haman killed, his sons killed, 500 Amalekim and Shushan killed. You need to be a melech. So Mordechai minted coins to establish, to solidify his position as melech, to destroy Amalek, ultimately to bring to the rebuilding of the second temple. Now, Mordechai wasn't really a full-fledged king, and therefore he couldn't eradicate Amalek completely, and that's why the Gemara says, based on the pasuk in Chagai, v'ichabda, missing a hay, that there were 5 things missing in the time of the second temple, and they are Arayin, Eish, Urim v'Tumim, Shechina, and Ruach HaKodesh. Say, wow, how do you remember that? It's very hard to remember anything. So you have to make mnemonics. It's a Gemara in Yuma. So I made the following mnemonic. The mnemonic is Asher, Aleph Shin Reish, spelled with 3 Alephs. So the 3 Alephs are Arayin, Eish, Urim v'Tumim, Shechina, Ruach HaKodesh. So you'll say that's a silly mnemonic. How are you going to remember Asher with 3 Alephs? And the answer is, the sillier the mnemonic, the easier it is to remember. Anyway, friends, This, we would like to suggest, is the reason why Mordechai wanted to mint coins in order to solidify his position as Melech, to destroy Amalek, to rebuild the second temple. In other words, the miracle of Purim set the foundation to be able to rebuild the second Beis Hamikdash. In fact, the Malbim reveals that the chinuch of the second Beis Hamikdash began on the 3rd of Adar and continued to the 23rd of Adar. And the Malbim explains the reason why they extended it 21 days is they had a tradition: the third temple will be dedicated on the 23rd day of Adar, and therefore they figured if they dedicate it on the 3rd of Adar and they take it 21 days, then maybe the third temple will come and they won't have to go through a second temple and then a third temple. They'll take it straight to the third temple. So what do we learn? That not only is the foundation of the second temple, the second Beis Hamikdash, rooted and founded on Chodesh Adar, but the Yisoid and the Chinuch and the dedication of the third Beis Hamikdash is also miyusad and dedicated on Chodesh Adar. So now we could say another interpretation of Kishem Shemi Shenichnas Av. Just like when the month of Av comes in, we're Mema'it B'Simcha, because that's the month of Churban. It's the month both the first and second temple were destroyed. Kach Mishenichnas Adar. So too when the month of Adar comes in. Marbin B'Simcha, because this is the month that set the foundation for Mordechai to become a Melech, to be able to destroy Amalek, so that the second temple could be built, and it's the month that sets the foundation for the ultimate building of the third Beis Hamikdash. So Adar corresponds and is Keneged Av. Av is the month we diminish joy in order to experience the mourning over the temple, and Adar is the month that we rejoice because it is the very foundation of the building of the second Beis Hamikdash, and Be'ezus Hashem, the third Beis Hamikdash, that we should be zoicha to see b'mheira v'yameinu. Now, Marav Rabbi, dear friends, I would like to share with you one final dimension of the depth of what Chazal mean, Kishem shemishenichnas Av mematin b'simcha kach mishenichnas Adar marben b'simcha. And this is based on a amazing ma'aracha that Rav Pinchas Friedman brings in his wonderful sefer Shvilei Pinchas on Purim, and he raises a very interesting observation. And that is, why is the Megillah story obsessed with hanging people? Haman, he doesn't want to shoot Mordechai, a slingshot, bow and arrow, sword. He wants to hang Mordechai. And ultimately Mordechai says, no, we're going to hang you, Haman. And not only that, but even after the sons of Haman were slain, Esther says, let's hang them. Why the focus and the obsession almost with hanging in the Purim story? Well, the Shvilei Pinchas, or Pinchas Friedman, introduces his approach with a very difficult medrash, the medrash in Esther Rabbah, Parsha Zayin, Ois Yod Aleph, that Haman HaRasha wanted to eradicate Klal Yisrael, and he said, how can I rule over them? And he cast lots, he cast a lottery, and it came out in the month of Adar, and he was very happy because Adar has no zechusim, and furthermore, the month of Adar, its constellation, its mazal is Mazal Adar Dogim. And Haman said, great, Mazal Adar Dogim, just like fish swallow, I will swallow the Jewish people. Interesting. This requires our study and analysis. What exactly was it about the fish that Haman said, oh, the Mazal of Adar is Dogim, fish, I'm going to get the Jews. Like, what do the fish got to do with it? Why was the fish the omen that Haman took as a sign that he would in fact be successful? Well, says the Shvilei Pinchas, let's take this back to an amazing encounter, an emotional encounter between Yosef HaTzadik and Binyamin, his brother. What occurred when they met each other after so many years? Vayipol al tzavare Binyamin achiv vayevk uBinyamin bacha al tzavarav. He fell on the necks of Benjamin, his brother, and he cried, and Binyamin cried on his neck. And Rashi says, what were they crying about? Yosef was crying over the 2 Batei Mikdashim that rested in the share of Binyamin that would be destroyed, and Binyamin cried over Mishkan Shilai that rests in the share of Yosef that would be destroyed. Where do you see anything about the Beis Hamikdash in this pasuk? How does Rashi know that Yosef was crying over the 2 Batei Mikdashim, that Binyamin was crying over the Beis Hamikdash? Well, we find throughout Tanakh that the Beis Hamikdash is nimshal, is alluded to. The parable given to the Beis Hamikdash is the tzavar. For example, Shir HaShiurim, Parak Daled, Pasuk Daled, Ki Migdal David tzavarech banoi l'sal piyais tzavarech ki Migdal Hashem. So here we see in a number of places the Beis Hamikdash is called a neck. Hence, when Yosef is crying over the necks of Binyamin, he's crying over the 2 Batei Mikdashim. And when Binyamin is crying on the neck of Yosef, he's crying over Mishkan Shilai. But still, that begs the question, why is the temple, why is Beis Hamikdash referred to as the neck? What is it about the neck that is the suitable and appropriate analogy and allegory for the Beis Hamikdash? So, the Shvilei Pinchas introduces us to an amazing piece in the Chassam Sofer in Parshas Vayigash, why the Beis Hamikdash is called a tzavar, and this is brought by the Shemi Shmuel in Parshas Vayigash in the name of his illustrious father, the Avnei Nezer. And that is, what is the function of a neck? The function of a neck is it is a connection. What does it connect? It connects the head to the body. The head has the central command of the entire body is issued forth from the head. The head controls the body. On the other hand, the vital organs are in the body, and the messages from the head go to the rest of the body through the neck, and the vitality and the nourishment from the body goes to the head through the neck. The neck is a great connector. And likewise, the Avnei Nezer says, K'moi shehatzavar hu memutza bein haroish v'haguf. So too, says Avnei Nezer, the Beis Hamikdash is the neck of the world. We are the guf, and the Almighty, the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Eibishter, is our head, as the pasuk says, Vayavar Malkam Lefnehem Vashem Beroisham. God is our Roish. Kisisa es Roish B'nai Yisrael. God's the head. God's the leader. So, at the Beis Hamikdash is the neck of the world. All the tefillos are channeled up to the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Shari Shamayim, through the Mikdash. All the Shafa flows down from the Ilamis Oyonim to us through the agent of the Beis Hamikdash. The same way that Tzavar is the neck of the body, the Beis Hamikdash is the Tzavar of the world. Now, says Chassam Sofer, this is not the ultimate level that we are hoping for, to have a neck, because that means we need a go-between, a mamutza between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, says Chassam Sofer, the ultimate madrega is to be close to Hashem without emtsai, with the head and the body connected, roish to guf. And when Yosef saw that we were going to be on the bechina of a tzavar without a roish, he understood that there will not be a binyan mukuyam la'asad lavai. But the tachlis hatoiv, the epitome of all good, is to be able to be connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu without a mikdash, with God resting on us. In fact, the Sfarno writes in Parsha Shmini that what is the connection between the chait of the Egal and the command to eat kosher foods? Says the Sfarno, there's a very big connection, because before the sin of the Egal, we didn't need a temple. It was b'chol makom asher azkir shemi avay lecha be'arachticha. Wherever you go, every Jew is suitable to be a mishkan, a resting place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like we say in this week's Parsha, v'shachanti b'soicham, that the purpose of the Mikdash is for God to rest on us, but the Mikdash is the go-between. But the highest madrega is for God to rest on us straight, the roish to the guf, without a tzavar. Says the Sfarno, but because of the Chet HaEgal, Moshe Rabbeinu realized that God would not rest on us, and he had to command us, Rebbeinu Shalom had to command us to eat kosher food. So now, through the agent of the Beis HaMikdash, then we're able to house Hashras Hashchina through being careful in Machalos Asuros. So this is an amazing idea. The temple serves as a memutza, as a tzavar between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but that's not the ultimate level. The ultimate level is B'chol makom asher azkir es shemi avoy elecha ubeirachticha. Continues the Chassam Sofer. The same way, litzad hatoy, for the good, the ultimate level is a world without a Beis Hamikdash. By the way, I'll just tell you very quickly, I want to suggest, b'siyata d'shmaya, lanias daiti, we could say, the Rambam argues on the Ramban. The Ramban says the reason, the objective of the Beis Hamikdash, of the Mishkan, is a makam of Hashras Hashchina. The Rambam defines it as makom avoida, a place of service. Why wouldn't the Rambam define the Mikdash the same way the Ramban defines it as? That's because la'asid lavai, in the future, when we're on the highest madrega, we will not need the Beis Hamikdash as a place of Hashras Hashchina. It will only be needed as a makam avodah. And we know that the Rambam, the way he defines mitzvahs, is only mitzvahs that will last forever and ever are considered mitzvahs. And therefore, even in the way the Rambam is magdir a mitzvah, the way he identifies a mitzvah, he identifies the mitzvah as a makam avodah, because a makam of Hashras Hashchina, as the Ramban expresses it, will not be for all time. Well, says the holy Chassam Sofer, the same way, Litzad HaTov, the highest madrega, is God, the Rosh, attaching himself to us, the Guf, straight without a mamutza. There is Litzad HaTuma uLitzad HaRa, an idea that even though the nations of the world all have their ministering angel, and there has to be a tzavar, a mamutza in between them and their sar, but the epitome of the kayach of Esav is Esav, the nation of Esav, and his sar, the samach mem, are connected to each other, roish and guf together, head and body, without the need of any tzavar. That is why Esav is alluded to as chazir, a pig. Yicharsemeno chazir miyar. Esav is like a pig. You ever notice a pig? It's the only animal. There's no neck. Head, body. They're fused together without a tzavar. That represents the quintessential kaychatuma of Esav. They don't need a go-between. The madrega that we're going to be on la'asud lavai, when we won't need a Beis Hamikdash, is the madrega Esav is on l'tzad hatuma, him and his sar. That is why Esav is compared to a chazir. By the way, Chassam Sofer says that la'asud lavai, Esav will become Yicharsemena chazir miyar. The ayin of yar will turn to an aleph, and perhaps Esav will grow a neck. And by the way, this might add explanation for the words of the Archaim HaKadosh that l'asud lavai, the chazir, will be kosher. Maybe once it grows its neck, it will start chewing its cud. You never know. Now, there's another amazing Chassam Sofer, quoted by the Shvilei Pinchas, and he says that the madrega of Klal Yisrael, l'asud lavai, of not needing a Beis Hamikdash, but God residing on us without the need of an intermediary, that is called dug. We'll be in the bechina of a dug, where the Rebbeinu Shem rests on us without any intermediary whatsoever. That says the Chassam Sofer, bebechinas dug. Shvilei Pinchas wants to say maybe that's why there's the minhag Yisrael to eat dugim on Shabbos, because Shabbos is the bechina of Yom Shekul Shabbos, the bechina of la'asud lavai. So it comes out, according to the Chassam Sofer, there are two animals that represent the connection that one may have with their leader without the need for intermediary. The dog, the fish, represents Klal Yisrael's madrega l'asud lavai without the need for a Beis Hamikdash as an intermediary. And the chazir represents Esav's intense kayach hatuma, that it is mechubar to the samach mem without a tzavar. Says the Shvilei Pinchas. Now we understand the great error of Haman. When Haman saw Mazal Adar Dogim, he saw the creature that represents Chodesh Adar is the fish. The fish represents a connection between the head and the body without a tzavar. As we know, the fish also has no neck. Take a look at a fish. It's just a head and a body fused together. Esav thought that represents his koyach and his fusion with his Sar, the Samach Mem, without the need for a Mamutza. So Haman thought in this month, he is so connected to Tumah that he will be able to destroy us and sever our connection. And that's why Haman wanted to hang Mordechai by the neck, to indicate while he is fused together with the Samach Mem, which he thought was represented by the dog, we are severed, Chas Hashem, from our connection. But little did Haman know that in the month of Adar, the dog does not represent his fusion with his Rosh, but the month of Adar represents, the fish represents that in this month we are so connected to our Ribbono Shel Olam that we don't even need the go-between of the Beis Hamikdash. We're on the Bechina of L'Asad Lavai, of Ani Eya B'Soichechem, of V'chomakam Asher Azker Shemi Avoy Elecha Be'erachticha. The dog is not a representation of the Madrega of Esav in Adar. The dog is a representation of Klal Yisrael in Adar. It's a Madrega of L'Asad Lavai. This fits beautifully in with the idea that Bnei Yissaschar so wonderfully brings out, that every month of the year corresponds to a different limb, and the month of Adar corresponds to the choitem, the nose, the sense of smell. As the Bnei Yissaschar says, the two heroes of Adar, Esther, the Hadas, the fragrant Hadas, and Mordechai, Mardachi, the ingredient of the Shemen HaMishcha. These are fragrant aromas. Why is Adar associated with the sense of smell? Says the Bnei Yissaschar, because when Adam HaRishon sinned with the Eitz Hadas, all the senses were impugned. Vateira ha'isha, the woman saw. Vatikach miperio, she took, she touched, she ate, she tasted. Vayishma'u, the only sense that wasn't employed is the sense of smell. So the sense of smell retains its purity of before the original sin. That is why it says that Mashiach, the sign that someone is the true Mashiach, is v'haricha b'yiras Hashem, if he could sniff out a case, because that means he has retained the madrega of Adam HaRishon, kaidem l'chet, and Purim is, so to speak, a day out of the L'Asad Lavai. Purim is a day out of the future. Let's take a snapshot. Mordechai is riding on a horse being led by a wicked Rasha who has garbage poured on his head. That's not the way things work in this world. This is a world where the tzaddikim have difficulty and the Rishayim are successful. What is the snapshot of Haman walking through the street with a pile of garbage on his head, and the tzaddik, V'ayir Shushan Tzala Samecha, it's a page out of the world to come. It's V'nahapoichu. It's Olam Hafach Ra'isi. The Ribbono Shel Olam took the L'Asad Lavai, the Olam Hafach Ra'isi, and he brought it into this world. It's the scent of smell that retained its purity from the sin of the Eitz Hadas, represented by Mordechai and Esther. Purim is the Bechina of L'Asad Lavai, when B'chol Makom Asher Azkir Shemi Avoy Elecha Ve'erachticha. That's the fight. Who's going to hang who? Who's going to sever whose connection? Whose head is attached to their guf? We say, Haman, we're going to sever your connection. We're the dog in Chodesh Adar. Says the Shvila Pinchas, this gives us insight into why all the Yamim Tovim ultimately will become batal to some extent. But Purim will never become batal, because Purim is a page out of the world to come. How could Purim become batal? It is taken from that realm. And now, so beautifully, we've come to uncover a great diamond and a new dimension in the magnificence of the formulation of the Chazal. Kishem, just like in the month of Av, we are mourning because we lost our tzavar, our connection to the Ribbono Shel Olam, the Sharei Shamayim, the agent through which all Shefa comes down. We are so sorrowful in the month of Av. We're so mournful in the month of Av because we lost our tzavar. Kach, so too, Mishenichnas Adar, when Adar comes in, Marbin B'Simcha, we increase our joy. Because this is the month we don't even need the tzavar. We could do without the tzavar in this month. This is the month of B'chol Makom Asher Avoy Elecha, Asher Azker Shemi Avoy Elecha Be'erachticha. This is the month of the fish, where it's the Rosh and the Guf fused together. So just like in the month of Av, we mourn losing the tzavar, in the month of Adar, we rejoice because we don't even need it. We're on a higher madrega. Kach mishenichnas Adar, Marbin B'Simcha. Mazal Adar Dagim. So this is Maimer Beis and also Maimer Gimel in the Sefer Magid Harakia, which is available at rabbidg.com with free delivery or at your local Svarim store. Thank you so much, Chazak, for hosting tonight's event. And thank you, Rabbi Newman, for sponsoring tonight's event. Lakava Chickens for Shabbos. Yad Eliezer website. Please do whatever you can. Wishing everyone a Freilichen Purim, a Chodesh of Chidush v'Hischadshus, Simcha v'Sasan la Yehudim, v'Toiv Leiv Mishta Tamid. Thank you so much. A Freilichen Purim to all.
For your unbelievable words as always. And everyone is reminded to tune in not only tonight, but every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TorahAnytime.com/Chazak Live, or you can call into the Shiur at 718-298-2077, extension 46, every Wednesday for this unbelievable class, unbelievable weekly Shiur, with a different speaker every single week. And everyone is reminded about this is being presented by Chazak, Chickens for Shabbos and Torah Anytime. These are three unbelievable organizations. Chazak really needs no introduction. They help Jewish public school students transfer to yeshiva. In the last 3.5 years alone, Chazak has helped transfer over 950 children from public school to yeshiva, which is an unbelievable accomplishment. And they cannot do it without your support. So to support Chazak right now. GiveChazak.com. GiveChazaq.com. GiveChazak.com. And Chickens for Shabbos is an unbelievable organization. They help feed the families of agunos, women who cannot get a divorce, grushos, divorcees, as well as malamdim, like Rabbi and Morris, teachers of Torah. They do that at zero overhead, which is unbelievable. They also private tutor 222 children of agunos and grushos. It's definitely worthy of supporting this life-changing organization at chickensforshabbos.com. 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 And we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We want to thank Torah Anytime for streaming tonight's event, all the amazing work that they do. And we want to remind everyone, tune in not only for this amazing shiur, but tune in every Saturday night, every Motzei Shabbos, for turn Saturday night into Motzei Shabbos at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week for Rabbi David Goldwasser and Dr. David Lieberman. Unbelievable series. Literally, there's no better way to spend your Saturday night than with Dr. Lieberman and Rabbi Glatstein. And you should definitely do that. TorahAnytime.com/Chazak Live. Call into the shiur at 718-298-2077, extension 46. Again, we will see everybody next Wednesday night. Same place, same time, same amazing Chazak. Thank you. Shavuot Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.